name is Leslie Hauge, and I am a Creative Memories advisor from Minnesota. I am coming to you today with a tip for this sketch, and I like to call it mapping the sketch. So when I first get a sketch that I'm going to work off of, I very quickly evaluate it to figure out if I can get a good starting place of what sizes I'm going to have for photos and what size my papers are going to be cut to. And I'm going to walk through how I did that with this sketch. So the first thing I start with is the photos. My right side page has two photos that appear to be 4x6. They appear to have a photo mat. My left side layout appears to have three photos that are a little bit smaller than 4x6, and so I call them a 3.5 by a 5.5. They also appear to have a photo mat. Down here at the bottom, these could either be embellishments, but I like to have a lot of photos, so I'm going to say that these are all photos, and I'm going to say that they are 3x3 in size. The next thing I'm going to move to, that's all of my photos, so I'm going to move to the paper, and I'm going to start with the back and work my way up to the front of the paper. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this piece of paper that extends along the top and is the lighter gray. This appears to be a little bit larger than half of a sheet of paper, so I'm going to say that this is approximately 6.5 inches and it's 12 inches wide, and that's on both sides, which leaves the bottom half at 5.5 inches by 12 inches wide. That's simply because 5.5 and 6.5 equals 12. So that would get me a full background. So bottom half is 5.5 inches by 12 on both sides. I then have a border that goes across the top, one that goes across the middle, and then one that goes across the middle of this piece of paper here. They all seem to be about the same width, and they appear to be a little bit less than an inch, or I'm going to say they are less than an inch, so I'm going to call them 3/4 of an inch, and these four are all going to be 3/4 of an inch by 12, and this one we'll have to determine the length when we get to this piece of paper. So next, let's go to the left side of our layout. We have these two pieces of paper. We need to determine the size. This piece of paper appears to be a little less than half of the 5.5 by 12 sheet of paper on the bottom. So I'm going to say it's approximately 2.5 inches. It has about an inch on the left and about an inch on the right, which means it's 2.5 by 10. This little piece of paper behind these three photos is approximately half of the width of this piece of paper, which would make it 1.25 inches. And it also appears to indent about an inch on each side of this piece of paper, which would make it 1.25 inch by 8 inches. That is your entire left side. Moving to the right side, we're going to start with this bottom piece of paper here. It appears to be approximately an inch smaller than this 5.5 inch piece. So I'm going to say that it's 4.5 inches wide, and it appears to have about an inch on each side, which would make it 4.5 by 10, which then means this border is 3/4 of an inch by 10 inches. Then we're going to move up to this piece of paper here, and this is probably the most difficult one. This appears to have maybe an inch to an inch and a half on the bottom and an inch to an inch and a half at the top. So for just a starting place, I'm going to say that it's approximately 9 inches long. Then when we're looking at the width, I'm going to say that there's an inch here and an inch here, another inch here, and then there's about another inch on the outside, which means 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. It makes this 8 inches wide. That is how I mapped the sketch. And here is my interpretation of that map. I hope you all have a great weekend at the virtual crop.